some substantive theme in a carefully reasoned, clearly articulated, and inspiringly delivered speech. I have chosen, or perhaps stumbled down, a markedly different path. I offer this preamble so as to encourage you to lower your expectations, provided that the bar is brought down a few pegs. I feel confident that this address will not disappoint. On that score, allow me to note at the outset that I will not be using any presentation software. No PowerPoint, no Keynote, no Prezi. I will not be using any audio-visual aids at all, except perhaps for this gavel, if I need to point to something. I am, for the purposes of this address, cutting the cord. On hearing my plans, my teenage daughters wished me luck with my paleo talk, which I didn't realize that was a thing. I do want to get this on Facebook, though, so... all right, good. That's Well, a systematic approach is best when engaging in these kinds of things. And so I began preparing this presidential address the way I would approach a research article, by reviewing the relevant literature. And after several weeks, I discovered, and this may surprise many of you, that no previous address has ever explained the proper way to explain regression coefficients estimated across a series of hierarchically organized multivariate models. So, this just sounds like a good idea. I did briefly consider trying to fill this hole in the literature, but decided that it was a much-needed gap, and a gap that should remain empty. But the SGS Presidential Address is, of course, not like a research article. A second possibility occurred to me. The SGS Presidential Address should be a creative expression. Something that captures what we love so much about this organization. So I thought, well, maybe a really long poem would work. So I gave this a shot. I'll read you a brief excerpt. I've just returned from the SGS conference. How, you ask, did my meeting went? But it was a first draft. The posters and papers stimulating, colleagues and friends invigorating, that I love what I do is no accident. Well, it went on from there for 30 verses, and it didn't get any better. No, the SGS Presidential Address is not like a research paper or a work of creative writing. Rather, the Presidential Address, the SGS Presidential Address, is perhaps more like the State of the Union, which does not necessarily have to be particularly learned or creative. Oh, excuse me, I should get this. Hello? Oh, yeah. This is he. Am I? Yeah. The White House? Oh, yeah, okay. Oh. Yeah, Mr. President, thank you. What? No, I'm sorry. Well, it's just a joke. Yeah. Well, I didn't mean your State of the Union. Well, how did you know? Yeah, no, I've heard of the FBI. Yes. Well, okay. Well, I'm sorry. What? No, okay, it won't happen again. Yes. Well, I'm kind of in the middle of something. You're busy too, I know. Yeah. Yes, I've seen the news. Oh. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Well, at any rate, some who might say that the SGS presidential address, comparing it to the State of the Union, is a bit of a reach. But I like to think big. There are those who contend that maybe over the past year I've let the power of this high office get to my head. I don't think this is true, but the people that I live with are in unanimity on this one point. It is true that I keep this gavel with me always, my precious. That is not particularly obsessive, is it? It's not like I sleep with the gavel grasped in my left hand anymore. After a few restless nights in September, my wife got tired of being bonked on the head, so now I have to keep it under my pillow. I have found the gavel useful around the house. There's no better way to call a supper meeting to order, and hear the report from the 8th grade committee. But this policy in practice was not uniformly popular. I suppose in hindsight that asking my girls to refer to me as the president was probably a little bit over the edge. Daddy, can I go to the movies? President, Daddy, can I go to the movies? Perhaps I have become a bit obsessed this year, but I still think that maybe the SGS presidential address is a bit like the State of the Union, albeit on a less grand scale and with a calmer and more reasonable audience. Just a quick test. Government programs can solve problems as long as they are fully funded. Yeah, calmer and more reasonable. In truth, I can report to you that the state of our union is strong. The Southern Gerontological Society is on the move. Immediate past president Lavonna Trevick led the effort to recruit our new association, Leanne Ferguson. And Leanne has been on the job since June 1st of last year. She has been quite effective this year in supporting and coordinating the work of both the executive team and the committee leadership. At last count, our membership stands at 227, which is a high water mark, but it's the highest that it has been since 2010. So these are positive trends. But beyond these positive trends, I want to point to some key enduring strengths that mark the Southern Gerontological Society. First among these is the quality of our members, our people. Southern Gerontological Society has always been a warm and welcoming organization. The annual meeting, an opportunity to build relationships with some of the friendliest, most compassionate, and fascinating colleagues anywhere. They're here, and that's not just happy talk. I mean, that is the truth. Every year when I arrive, I am reminded again of what a wonderful, warm collection of people that we have in this organization. SGS, simply put, provides a uniquely fruitful space for developing and maintaining professional and collegial networks. This partly has to do, I think, with the fact that our meetings are manageably sized. It is easy to find someone you're looking for. You're likely to have multiple opportunities to connect with people, both in sessions and around the table. There's no better way to get to know a person than in sharing a bowl of grits, which I think we're all looking forward to. This year is no different, of course, with our luncheon, our awards luncheon, getting closer by the minute. The afternoon's concurrent sessions, tonight's festivities, the Jamapalooza, and Ed's dancing that we all look forward to. As a place to develop professional networks, SGS is special for another reason. SGS is home to people doing widely different kinds of work related to older adults, practitioners, educators, researchers, policy professionals. And what is more, SGS is home to people at every stage of their careers. Students, we welcome you in particular. Your presence is important to SGS, and your success is important to SGS. This is part of the reason why we decided to use the proceeds from the silent auction to fund student scholarships. So let me just pause for a moment, and if you're a student with us today, can I ask you just to rise? And let's welcome our student colleagues. Thank you very much. The diversity of our membership, both in terms of professional activity and career stage, is part of what has allowed SGS to be such a wonderful place for developing a network of supportive colleagues, but also a wonderful place to foster mentoring relationships. Many of us who are now veteran SGSers owe our careers to senior colleagues in SGS. Mentors that we talk about in hushed tones. Mentors like Chuck Longino, Ed Ansello, Victor Marshall, Lynn Poon, Jan Wassel, Frank Whittington, Graham Rolls, Dana Shank, Ed Rosenberg, Irvin Palmore, Jim Mitchell, Wiley Mangum, the list goes on and on. And many of you will have dozens of other people from SGS that you would add to this list. There are many besides these who have generously welcomed and nurtured younger colleagues for decades. We are the beneficiaries of a tradition in SGS of caring about students and junior colleagues. And that is a tradition that we must carry forward. So if you're I hope that doesn't happen again. If the organization's first strength is in our members and the opportunity SGS provides to develop professional networks, a second key strength emanates from our mission. SGS was established with a clear set of purposes, and among these, to assume leadership in the Southern region for bringing about better understanding of developments in the field of gerontology, to advocate for the development of sound strategies to move forward and move toward the implementation of meaningful public policy in aging within the Southern region and in the nation, to encourage and in some cases initiate education and training programs that serve older people and those who work with and on behalf of older people, to take an active role in the clarification and implementation of the results of demonstration projects, experimental programs, and research. These purposes articulate the core mission of our organization and our society. Broadly, SGS is about bridging research and practice in order to enhance the lives of older adults, both in the American South and elsewhere. This mission is as important and vital today as it was at our founding and at the time of our first meeting in Atlanta, Georgia in 1980. Perhaps this mission is even more important today. Both in the United States and around the world, the median age is rising. According to Census Bureau's figures, the proportion of the population 65 and older is expected to reach 20% by 2030, up from 13% today. And these are global trends, so that around the world, approximately no less than about 1 in 5 adults will be 65 and older. In Canada, Brazil, nations across Europe, Russia, Japan, China. But these trends are well known. What is more, older adults today are systematically different from previous cohorts. In the United States, more racially and ethnically diverse as a group, better educated, though there's a wide amount of variety within the young old cohorts and great variation on that one score. But these broad trends of population and demographic change are, of course, well known and have been for some time. The aging of the population I do not present as problem or crisis, and there is no gray peril hand-wringing here. Still, it is obvious that the aging of the population is driving and will continue to drive change. Communities, broadly understood, must respond to the needs, preferences, and opportunities presented by a growing senior population.